And we're back. Thank you for coming back, Blind Squirrel. And I also want to start the show off by saying, yeah, I'll change the title of that in a little bit. That was completely inappropriate, and like, I guess I'm kind of glad that it ended up being the way it did, because then it's just like, get that out of the way. But it is a lesson in extremism that I wanted to try to drive home that point. So it's going to seem really bipolar, but I want to start out by thanking Mayo Monkey. Thank you for gifting memberships. I really appreciate that. I hope that one day you guys all get to have a Mayo in your life. He's just like the coolest dude with like so many awesome, like, man, like when you surround yourself with people, like a lot of people, they just want to surround themselves with people that they can feel superior to, and like, I'm smarter than you, or my life experience is like more than your, like, because it's comfortable. It's comfortable to be surrounded by people of whether it be the same, socioeconomic, or education or intellect or whatever. It's comfortable to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. And he is just a breed all of his own of like intelligence and wit and like dry humor and just like all the awesome things. And he's very blunt, and like you're not going to be around him and be like a sissy type emotional person. But when you can like respect like the gift that he brings to your life, like, and I really appreciate you, and I hope you're still here to hear me say all these nice things about you. But I do appreciate you, and I appreciate that you gifted those. I turned monetization off, but if you can, a super chat would be great. This is like, yeah, it sucks to even that say that, or better, also like subscribe and share. And like, I didn't share it out anywhere, so if you have a few minutes to do that, I'd really appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, I'm back. You know me, she's always trying to keep me on the rails, which is hilarious if you really think about it, but I just keep disobeying her all the time. I'm hoping that we're going to get together, meet a new friend in real life this week. I'm super excited about it. But I don't want to like say without permission, so I'll be quiet. But if you're here, excited to meet you. Okay, here we go. We're going to get right to business. I'm going to see if I get better connection since I'm just like sharing my screen here. Ivy, you came back. Is Chris or CJK here yet? I don't know. Are you guys here? I should be able to do this like full. Let me know if you can hear me, because I'm going to be sharing the screen. So write it in the chat if you can still hear me when I go to my Google Docs. Or did I mute myself? Okay. I think I got some. We can hear you. Okay, so we left off with, the ballistics report. These are just things that took place like in the very beginning of this. And so the first thing we have, they found the tip, which they'll talk about in this. And Is everybody still good on being able to hear me? And guess what? I've been asking around and said that's why I was like, thank you, Delphi Dilemma and Ivy and like all the Deb and everybody. And there's a few others that sent it to me. And I was like, so I download it and like save it into my doc and it's like, you already have this. Like, you gotta be kidding. So it was like, I've had it all along. I just don't know how to title stuff. So I didn't know that I had it. And I was like, oh, but when it was a duplicate, it was like, oh, oops. But this isn't the one I wanted to show. So this must be the... Here we go. All right, so this is to law enforcement, referring to the search of the residence located at North Whiteman Drive, Delphi, Indiana, in the county of Carroll. You are hereby authorized and ordered in the name of the state of Indiana with the necessary and proper assistance to enter into and upon the property, including the residence outbuildings, including a wooden shed on the property, a 2016 black Ford Escort, SE must be like the make, vehicle located at the same address, and, the property being the residence of Richard M. Allen. The residence located on the property is described as a ranch style house with brick. Blah. You don't need to go back over that. Law enforcement is ordered to diligently search for any and all of the information and or evidence of the crime of murder in violation of Indiana Code. No, notice that there's no parentheses 2 on the search warrant affidavit, which is the same as the Ron Logan one that we have. Just throwing that out there. I don't know if it's important or anything. It's just a little thing I noticed. Specifically to search for handguns, 40 caliber ammunition, knives, blue sweatshirts, jackets, black sweatshirts, jackets, clothing, electronic devices, and a cell phone with the number, and then it gives his phone number, and any other cell phones or any other electronic devices located in or on the location described above. This is pretty standard. And again, when you actually get into case law, you'll be able to see, like, I highly doubt, like, it's been preposterous to me. I don't care where you fall, pro defense, pro prosecution. It's preposterous to think that a search warrant should include things about third parties. Like, that's, or that a judge was misled based on the things that were in that memorandum and the suppression. So in like the way this works in like the Indiana code, like so a defense attorney would need to submit, in which they did, a motion to suppress the fruits of the search warrant, which they did. And then after, so that is one filing. And then a memorandum of like explanation is another, like, it's in the same like family, as I understand it. Okay. But people have been bringing up that there's like discrepancies within the search warrant affidavit and what the prosecutor, I'm going to say McLeland, even though I think it might actually be McClellan, but I've been calling him McLeland since 2017. So I can't stop now. Actually not, because he didn't come. Well, it was Robert Ives. People forget that, like, there was a whole different prosecutor for like a whole year of this case. So even to add more, complication to it, like, this switched hands from one sheriff to another, and as dysfunctional as I think the unified command has been, is it to the point of a mistrial or an appeal? And just based on my own research, I don't think the fruits of this search warrant don't. I can't see how anyone could think that This should be thrown out based on these things, because again, just like with the state needed to prove the intent behind the leak, and they didn't. And I admit that they did not prove the intent behind that. Whether I think there may have been intent, that's just my feeling. And I know that it's a shared feeling amongst others. But again, that's just how I feel. But in a court of law, which is what matters here, the prosecution did not prove intent, that there was a malicious intent. Now, what Judge Gull says about, like turning this over to the American Board Association or the Defense Attorneys Association, there's a few different ones to where now that's a different thing. That's completely different. And there could be something in there that they could be, found to be in violation of that. If you read it, and you can find it on my old community posts where I shared the whole thing of what is the difference between, the ABA and all of those acronyms that I can't remember right now versus, a court of law, which is, we got who we got. And I guess because Fig is Gull's nephew, and since I'm Fig's sister, I am her niece too, so I'm literally just kidding, because that's what people have been spreading around behind the scenes. We're not related. She's not anyone's aunt. There is someone that messaged me that said that they have a friend of the judge, which I find highly inappropriate, that the judge's friend that's a judge would be talking to a street person, and I surely God hope that was a big fat lie, which it more than likely is, knowing where it came from and what all has taken place in the last year that I didn't even know about. But yeah, I really hope that that is not true, that this judge really has her feelings hurt. That's appalling. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. So these things that they're looking for, while the Ron Logan was written by someone, I believe she was in the GBI. They came in at about that time too. So there are differences in it, but there are things that are foundationally the same. And it is the same with this search warrant here. And when this case is adjudicated and we can public access request other things, I don't know if that ends up being a thing or not. I have never done that in a case, actually. No, I have. Oh, what was the case? Secret. That was a crazy one. The secrets. So, yeah, you may be able to, well, that wasn't actually search one. Never mind. I'm just going to shut up. I've been so bored the last few days, and just really dealing with some personal things that were just really devastating. So I've just been I'm just pent up. I should have gone out today. But anyway, that's that on Monday, February 13th at approximately 1:50. Abigail Williams, is we doing good? Everybody can hear me. Hey, Frosty, what's up, dude? The week will be huge in terms of information coming out, in my opinion. I think, yeah, I was talking with someone on the phone earlier, and I was like, I know how jury trials work. So I tuned in for Karen Reed, the motions in limine, and that's gonna I don't know that that's actually gonna go on this week, but I think that this week, if it doesn't look like it's gonna get, it's happening. So I think I don't know. I hate to say I'm gonna try to go, because then you got your crazy people that I don't that. To me is so inappropriate, and I don't want to have any part of it. And I know my temper. That's why I didn't go to the Abby and Libby bike ride, the bike event, because man, I don't have the temper for this. So it sucks because I love to go to I like to go to these things, but like I don't want to get into I don't want to be a part of a side circus that is further disrespecting Abby and Libby and this case. And unfortunately, you can't control anyone but yourself. And so, if I thought that I could go and even if confronted, um, keep my cool, then I would probably go. But I know myself pretty well, and I don't know that if certain people were to shove a camera in my face, I wouldn't be adding to the circus. And that is unfair of me to do. So I'm going to be thinking about it. I'm going to be thinking really hard about possibly going this week. We shall see. I do have the time. I have 2 of those days off work, so I could go. And maybe if a calm person goes with me, I would be able to I don't know. We'll see. But that's no one else's responsibility anyway. Here we go. So here's some things. I don't, I'm sure everybody has, and like I said last time, Gray Hughes Investigates did his using this and the probable cause for the charging, did a great job of putting it all into a timeline that's not biased. Like, whether you think Gray is biased, with what he says, this particular breakdown, and Sluice isn't either. And I know that, I think when I was hearing Julie saying the stuff that she was saying about, and I was like, is she just copying me at this very moment? But so it's easy to think that other people are just copying your work. And Greeno definitely does that to Gray. He just did it with his little logo. Anybody notice that? Good Lord. I mean, come on, dude. Okay. So I've highlighted this. Investigators located Liberty German's iPhone 6S under her body at the scene and were able to recover a video. So that's a discrepancy that we've heard, right? I'm not giving an opinion on that. I'm just stating a difference in what we've heard. And like I said, I'm trying to focus on it one document at a time. So I'm sure at some point we will come across which one of those is true. And I don't know. And I'm trying to not know. Okay. Approximately 43 seconds in length, captured at 2:13 p.m. on February 13th. The video depicts Abigail walking on Monon High Bridge towards Liberty while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. So we've already kind of thought that based on, I don't know if any of you guys did that, the video, but frame by frame. I think there's 40 some frames in that video, because that's what videos are made up of, is frames. So yeah, I think that's kind of backed up by the video in and of itself. And then so near the end of the video, a man is heard in the video telling the girls down the hill. We've known this for quite a long time. Through further investigation of the location of the bodies, investigators are also located a .40 caliber unspent round. They also determined that articles of clothing from the girls were missing from the crime scene, including a pair of underwear and a sock. So go back to when we read the Ron Logan search warrant affidavit and what the person that wrote that up said. Okay. These are things where we can, while we don't know the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and there's like ways to skirt around it. This is something that they have been looking for things. She said souvenirs, and that and kind of more of a profile style search warrant that was filed just based on the agent that was writing it. But there's still consistencies with Liggett and what he wrote here. So there's been a lot of talk about 3 of the 4 girls. Okay. So we have Raleigh, Bree, and Anna, and people are like, well, they don't even mention the 3rd girl. But they do mention her. Just not in that one, but she is mentioned in this, and we'll come to it when we get there. Described a male on the trails that matched the description of the male in the video recorded by Liberty German. The 3 girls identified, and their names encountered this male near a bench. And there is a picture of them. And like I said, Doug Rice groups, he made contact with these girls' mother. And that's where a lot of that information comes from. People like to claim that they, no, that was Doug Rice. However you felt about him, I found him to be just over the top. But the thing is like, he stood for like the truth and was like not gonna move off of his foundation, whether he was a little abrasive or not. You got to respect the guy for what he brought in the beginning to at least the sleuthing community, And he went out there. You want to talk about someone that was actually boots on the ground, Doug Rice. And I don't know if she would want me to mention her, but I think she goes by Who Dis on YouTube. And yeah, she was right there. And then there was a couple other ones, and they were really boots on the ground. I got kicked out of Doug's group because I got into this weird, sometimes things get you emotional and then you do things. And that's why it was I felt bad about, and I've already apologized to Dawn of she did not deserve for me to take that out on her, for her to fight for someone that they were probably right about. I don't know, and I was out of line, and I've apologized to her, and I think she's pretty freaking awesome. And it really pissed me off when Alex Voorhees dared to add her, because she's literally just been about fact finding and no BS, and you got to respect her because she's put in a shit ton of work. And even Catherine, there's things about Catherine, she passed away, and it was super sad because I was really close with her just as a person. We talked on the phone. I'll never forget my first phone call to her was $70. And I was like, what? So kind Catherine figured out a way that we could talk on the phone, and it not, because she was in Canada, and she was just such a fun person. And a lot of people didn't get to know that about her, of just the play-by-play of the animals in her yard and her relationship with her kids and her husband. And she was just so much more than an admin of Facebook groups for me. And I appreciate them. Were they perfect? No, but there's just people where when you get to know them outside of a sleuthing group, she was just pretty awesome. And I know a lot of people really miss her. I know I do. So So this is something that come up. I believe it was Anna that had said, like, there was like, talk of like, kind of creepy and in like, I don't know, that wasn't, I'm sorry, I retract that. But Anna had said that described the man as wearing the light blue jeans and a really light blue jacket, and his hair was gray, maybe a little brown, and he did not really show his face. So what is written here? These are all witnesses that are going to be called to the stand, and they are going to be cross-examined. So again, for me, witness reliability without having things to back it up. But as we read here, we're going to find out that there are things to back up, that they're not just like making this up. But to think that, people have been like, oh, well, they should have known that he was short. These were kids. Have you looked up how tall they were then? Have you been able to find out how tall Bree and Riley and like, because one of them said he was short. Like, she noticed that. Not very tall, literally says it right there, but he had a bigger build, which describes Richard Allen, describes other people too. I'm not saying that. And the fact that that's what, how have I forgotten his name? Rice, Doug Rice. And their mother came in and spoke to the group. Many people talked to Doug in Bridge of Lies, and Kay Weber did. Kay Weber talked to Doug Rice. So Julie's not the only one, and at least Doug had the ability to like, no, like if it wasn't the truth or truth-based, or like he said, so this is just a theory, like he was very clear about a lot of that stuff in his group, and a lot of people valued that. And when he died, it was upsetting for a lot of people. So we have the investigators, Steve Mullen and Brett Ingram, interviewed Anna, and she described the male. I think, they say Ann right here, but I think, again, just the amount of typos that these freaking, hire somebody like to recheck your work. But I think this was a hasty one, which is totally should have been, right? I think we can all agree on that. Interviewed Anna, and she described the male as wearing a blue jacket and light blue, like this is things. And Riley recalled telling her sister, here's the sister, the minor sister, that someone was in a grumpy mood. And these are things that when like I was going back over the timelines that we made, like in the Facebook groups, this was something that was brought up. Not very tall and a bigger build. She said that he was not bigger than 5'10". And like, come on. Let's not, these are, they were children, like now they're adults because so much time went by, but these were children. And like, you have to look at what you're seeing through the lens of the age of the person that's seeing it. Now, the weird outlier for me is like Betsy, who people are claiming, I haven't come across it yet, of like, she saw a young guy and people are like, well, she was the closest. No, she wasn't. These girls walked right past him. Have you ever walked these trails? Many of you walk these trails. Like, hey, criminality. So glad you're here. Bob wouldn't know anything about Doug Rice. Yeah, it is not in a court filing or court hearings. He most of the time doesn't know. Yeah, and that's fine. It's just something that, I think you were around, you've been in true crime, like actual true crime of like other things, and so I feel like you have a better grasp of what's going on for a longer period of time. And, the wording was here. So True Crime Web Steve says, the wording here also is supportive of your theory. Ivy Rose, video and phone in the same sentence. It's always been my understanding. I believe it's been said by law enforcement to, I just can't remember when or where off the top of my head. Well, we're going to find it. Hey, Coach Kev. What's up, dude? Hope you're doing well. Bree was the same size as Kelsey in May 17. I was told Kelsey was 5'3" or 5'4". Oh, so look, like, and from the pictures that I feel like their mother was completely, and if you go and you find my comments about her, I'm like, I thought she was just completely reckless. Like, I get that I would be overjoyed that, of like, I get the close call there, but like to put your children's names out there when there's a killer on the loose, I felt she was kind of attention seeking, but at the same time, what she was saying back then is backed up by where we are now in this case. Does that make sense? Yeah, descriptions, I mean, I'm telling you, go do it yourself. Do it like go for a walk where or be somewhere where you see someone that's just like, you know how you can see people and they like give you, that happened to me when I first met Brian James. I didn't know anything about that dude. And I came down the stairs at work and he was in there. And those people where you just meet where it's like, it's happened at work 3 times. And my intuition, my gut, whatever you want to call it, was right all 3 times, about, yeah, like it was just, I'll never forget it. Like, my friend, like, and coworker just up and married this guy. We're just like, what? And he came into the salon one day and like, I passed by him in the the washroom. And I was like, I didn't know who he was there, who he belonged with, but it was just that like vibe. It happened to me when I met Greeno in person. It happened to me when I met Joe Warnock, who ended up murdering my friend brutally, and one other guy at the salon. And I hope she gets out safe because that's still a thing. But yeah, there's just some people, and my daughter has always had a really good instinct on picking up on people, and so did my dog, and I really learned to like trust their instincts as well as mine, and then sometimes I don't listen to my own instincts and my own daughter. And I wish you guys could have her in your life because she's both of my girls. Oh my gosh, they're just okay. I'm not going to brag about them, but so here we go. This interview was conducted in 2020 of Bree. She was able to show investigators a picture that she took on her phone of the Monon High Bridge with a timestamp of 12:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bree showed investigators another picture she took at the bench just east of Freedom Bridge when they leaving at 1:26 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bree stated after she took the picture on the bench that started walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. Freedom Bridge is the one that is newer. It was a transplant because it is historical bridge. And Bree stated that picture at the bench, they started walking back towards the Freedom Bridge. She states that when they walked past the man who matched the description of the individual in the picture, remember what the picture is, Richard Allen, released on the 15th. But this is going to be a part where this is going to be a corroborating thing, just like even though the Hoover Harvest store is not the name of it. I did get to the bottom of that. It's insignificant, but I see people on Reddit asking about it and bringing it up like, oh, they're liars. But we'll get to that in a second. Oh, don't even call me. No, you have no right to call me. No right at all. Not after the way you have betrayed me so utterly deeply. Don't call me. Seen on the video at Hoover. So Hoosier Harvest Store, but you see us on 300 North traveling eastbound to the trailhead to park there at 134620. Oh, is that one? That's 146, right? Yeah. Blair saw the girls walking above as she went under. So they're walking on Freedom Bridge to leave, and she's driving under. So here's Freedom Bridge. Here's 25. Hoosier Harlan. She's driving to it. You got to go under a bridge and then come back around, and that's 300. That's where the Anderson is. That's where, the CPS building is. And that's how she saw them. Whether she turned to go into the parking lot and then walk Freedom, I don't remember at this very moment in time, but here we go. This is on September 21st of 2022. Oh, Daisy, thank you. Thank you so much. I was wrong on identifying offenders. So being wrong on a height is not a deal. Exactly. It's literally not a deal breaker at all. It's so hard. Like, I try to do it, guys. Like I told you last time, like that guy was creepy. There was something going on, and like we were concerned. My dog was on high alert, and it was like a memorable interaction and a very like we are walking past each other, right? And so it was like, and then we kind of went. There's trails out by where I live too, and they're very similar to out there, like the creek, and there's bridges here in Brownsburg where my kids went to them, and like it's completely inappropriate for you to interject your opinion. Like this is like parents don't said, oh, like I'm gonna send, like that was so uncalled for, and like Sue and I have had this like relation, like it's like I talked to Sue on the phone too, and like me and Sue had some great laughs. We had some things, but sometimes she says stuff to where it's just like, girl, and I see a lot of people doing that. It was just like they shouldn't have been out there, and their parents should have known better. It was a drug area, and it's like I have drug addicts in my family, and I wouldn't know that their area where they make their meth, I could accidentally send my kids there. My kids spent a lot of time around the area that my family lived. Do you think that I would have known if like letting my kids walk at the park with our Doberman, like that there might have been a meth plate? Like underbellies are everywhere. And like the thing is like some of the stuff that she says and that was in, the filings, the Hatch Act and all of that stuff, like small town, like I mean, my husband, his dad was the town manager for years, and he was just kind of a no nonsense. No, we're not like hiring your brother to do this contract for more than it's worth. Like, no, that's not happening. There was tons of little things like that. And I'm not saying that I am a fan of Liggett. I never have been, him or Hammond. Just not a fan. I don't like the way I heard an audio of Liggett talking to someone, and it was disgusting. And I haven't liked him since, but then again, like my opinion of him is irrelevant. Like we'll find out, but like Lesenby, you know, like, uh, okay, just can't stay focused. I like I have a powwow with myself. So here, Bree advised he was wearing baggy jeans. I think that's a little bit more, you know, I put a little weight to that because he is so short and these jeans were clearly not like made to size. And that's something that you could see in the video. Here's another part. So I'm gonna tell you what's up with the Hoosier Harvest store because it's actually Harvest U-Haul or U store, but it's owned by the same, at that time, the owners of the Hoosier Harvest store and the Hoosier U store were owned by the same man. Okay, so just throwing that out there. Blair saw the girls walk. Okay, I already said that. Mr. Allen was on the trail between 13:30 and 15:30. Parked at the old Farm Bureau building and walked on the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw three females. Well, like this is one of those things where like he lied. Like, okay, but he didn't. And you'll see that later on. Like he's already brought up Raleigh's sister, you know, so he noted one was talking about the girls he saw. One was taller and had brown or black hair. He did not remember descriptions, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He states this to them. And like I said, defense really shot himself in the foot with their press release that, like, I mean, now, you know, they are speaking on behalf of Richard Allen. Anytime they do anything, they are doing it on the behalf of their client, Richard Allen. So coming out with that press release, like he was there and he was trying to be helpful. Like you can't say he wasn't there. Like you can't get around this. While one, he did not remember this. I read that. He walked from, read that. He did not see anybody. Although stated that he was watching, so he sees them. He doesn't see anybody else because he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. Well, he must be really coordinated then, right? Might be a little bit more capable than we think if he can walk and get on and watch a stock ticker whilst walking on it and not so even halfway as it. Well, I think they fixed it now, but it used to just be like deteriorating in a couple areas of right where he would have been walking after he interacted with, like, past those three girls on the tight trail, mind you. But he's watching the stock ticker. He said there were vehicle parked at the High Bridge trail head. However, he did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or videos. His cell did not list an IMEI, but did have the following. An MEID is the same, like of it's an identity. Like I'll show. I won't try to prove it like with me just saying it. I'll show it here in a second. And then this is the part that, like, why is this guy like, sorry? I know I'm not sorry. Like, why is this guy taking tips? He's gonna just be a horrible state's witness. I'm just letting you know that right now. You don't have to agree with me, but this dude, look into him. They're not wrong about him. Like the pro defense are not wrong about this guy. So it's like, they better have things to like back this up. He did not take any photos or video. His cell phone did not list an IMEI, but it had an MEID. So, and then these other numbers. And then his potential follows is Where were the 3 girls walking in the area of the Freedom Bridge? What? There should be so many more potential follow-ups here. That's so, like, I can't. I can't. Um, and here's where, this is getting into the parts where you really lose me, that I think Sleuth might have said it in the chat. You'd have to get me to believe there's like a doppelganger. Like did a switcheroo, and like in the being, so he's passing the 4 girls. Abby and Libby arrive, but they don't, like the timing lines right up for that they wouldn't have seen each other. They go left at Mary Gerard and they're heading towards Highbridge. Literally within minutes, Betsy is there and she is getting out, and she also is walking down Mary Gerard and taking a left and walking towards Highbridge. I think it's like 4 minutes behind them or something. And so you'd have to get me to believe that, like, Richard Allen, who also says he's walked past these girls and now he is just ahead of Abby and Libby and Betsy, and he is out. Betsy walks. She's a runner. She's a walker. Like, you can verify that with her history of that. She walks down to the bridge. She sees him out there. He says he's out there looking at fish. And then as she is coming, walking, like taking a Yui at the bridge and walking back, she passes who she thinks is Abby and Libby. And this has been something that was out very early on. This was in Delphi Dilemma of like, am I having a Mandela effect here? Do you guys remember this? And they're like, oh yeah. And then everybody, just the awesome people that they are, like Chris and a few others that I don't want to name them. I know some of them probably wouldn't care, but you know what I'm talking about. And thank you for your help on that. Of like they're sending me the screenshots that it's like this was a thing. The only person that interjected him into this is Greeno. And obviously we know that was false. So the dog walking lady turned into this person that Greeno could use to grift off people, but she was a real person and she did. And there was an interview very, very early on. And I remember it so well because it affected me on an emotional level, because it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for her because of like, she passed them. And it's like that, those times in life of like, if only. So that's why her interview, I think it got scrubbed, but like, that's why her interview stood out to me. And then in the groups that I've been and around the people that I've been for a really long time, like they all concurred. We all share that memory. Okay. And so that's why it's like, you got Cheyenne arriving after that. She's out there right after. And like, she didn't see anybody. No one else saw anybody out there. That is why I can't get around the fact that Richard Allen is bridge guy. To go further than that, I don't know. Because you got to go back to Mullins. He could have just been speaking in generalities, but he said, you don't see what you don't see. You don't see what's happening over here. You just see what the lens is showing you, which is Libby's phone recording bridge guy. You don't see what's happening over here. You don't see what's happening over here. Where clearly, whether I like it or you like it or not, with the way this is charged, it leaves room for other actors and not just like saying that at a press conference. And a lot of people think that like tip lines and like lines of inquiry close down when the someone is being adjudicated. No, find me another case where that happens. That's not a thing. It's completely normal that new discovery is being turned over to the defense, and lots of other defense attorneys completely can handle that. It's not a thing to be all like, so annoying. So this is the part where it's a stretch for me when people say he's not the bridge guy. His own attorneys, through his words, speaking for him, put him there that day. And they're like, oh, but he parked over at the Farm Bureau building. No. Well, I'm going to show you on my map. Like, that makes not a lick of sense. Okay. And then you can't get around. You can't get around some of these things. So, you know, you could think he's innocent. I can think he's not. And I can also think that there may be others involved, and so can you. And like, one doesn't negate the other, in my opinion. And then you have this other witness, because somebody sent me, and it was like, oh, like I need to ask Ray about this. He had I don't know, I think it was after the 2019 presser, where the guy seems very genuine and like a very good memory. And he said he worked at Anderson, and he even said, hey, they'll be able to prove where I am, like with what I do, like they're going to be able to see like right where he is. And he says that he sees another car parked along there. But with the way this is, like, maybe it's just me, like, you know, trying to think of other possibilities. And I haven't talked to Gray about that, but, this Terry person, he was on his way to Delphi on February 13th on the Hoosier Heartland Highway at approximately 1410. So that is 3. I don't know. I'm so bad at military time. He observed what he described as a purple PT Cruiser and a small SUV, or a small SUV type vehicle, parked on the south side of the old CPS building. So the interview that Gray did, you know, that he said he was parked on the same side as the old CPS building. Wilson said that it was blocked in as to conceal, so backed in. And that was the part where it was like, gosh, you got like these two different, like, I mean, it's something that they better address at the trial, because I want to know, and the jury is going to want to know too, if you get my drift. So they drew a diagram, so that's going to come into evidence. This diagram that they drew and had the vehicle they saw parked in the same general area and manner. And then you've got Sarah. In 2017, she states that she was traveling east on 300 North and observed a male subject walking west on the north side of 300. Away from Monon Hybrid. She stated that he was wearing blue collar jacket and blue jeans and was muddy and bloody. This is the big, whoa, he threw that word in there and he tricked the judge. Like, you're going to have, like, that's what I'm saying. You're not going to prove intent right here. The further stated that it appeared that he had gotten into a fight. Has that been disputed? Investigators determined from the video that she was on 300 North at 15:57. So he's saying he's leaving, you know, like, just, these are, to me, eyewitnesses are, but when they are backed up by like cell phone data and pictures with metadata on them, it adds more, you know, it adds strength to these eyewitnesses. But eyewitnesses are Like they are not like, that should not be your main focus. It's a totality of a case. When it's laid out in an organized fashion, these things are not the, but I hate to tell you, like these are how cases are solved more often than not, even with all of the advances in technology that we have. Am I doing okay? Anybody like having something they want to ask in the chat? Yeah, me too, Ivy. And there's a study, I just saw it on Fig Solves of like, they bring in a guy, a crime is committed, and like they had no clue what he was wearing. Like no clue. Um, they literally just saw him in this like closed area, and like no one got it right. So like for them to like be able to nail like every single thing, that's just preposterous. And if the defense, I guarantee you, if the defense attorneys had witnesses that didn't, then they would be singing a different tune. She says that she was traveling east. Okay, I already read that. So Richard Allen is interviewed by investigators on October 13th of 2022 at the investigation center. Literally nothing wrong with that. He was interviewed by Detective Liggett and Carroll County prosecutor investigator Steve Mullins. So Steve Mullins used to be, I don't know if I think he was Delphi. Someone let me know if you remember Steve Mullen. But like, and then he became the investigator for the prosecutor. He agreed to come to the center and speak with investigators. He was advised of his rights and was further advised that he was not under arrest and was free to leave at any time. Investigator Mullins explained to him how to leave the center. This is all, going to be on video, except I think it's pretty dumb that they didn't the whole thing later with Holman. Leave the center if he so desired. He stated that he was in fact on the trails on March 13th. He further stated that he saw 3 girls on the trails east of Freedom Bridge, and he went to the Monon High Bridge. He also told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood on that day. He stated he wore some type of heavy covering. He further claimed that he saw no one else but the 3 girls, which by the timelines of the other people arriving and the data that will be collected from their phones, even the metadata from images, will be able to shed some light on this when it is expanded upon. And this is like plenty, like to get a search warrant for a house. Like some of the other ones are way weaker than even the Ron Logan one. And like this, I just don't see, look right here. They're not even bringing up that 4th girl, but yet he did. Here she is right here. Was on the trail when they observed a male, and it just kind of like gets repetitive. Like, I don't know why, but I don't think there was anything major. They reiterated this part. It was like, did you copy and paste the same thing over again? I'm not sure. Yeah. So he's given his experience. Yeah. Okay. In his role as a deputy, as a detective, he was his investigator. And listen, I'm going to pause right here and say, like, you can look up the lawsuit, like I can't remember what civil about Carroll County, and there were some things that Liggett did that were in violation. And then like it is true that they just didn't have, by loopholes of the law, like the jurisdiction to file that, and like they got out of that. But there were some things like Carroll County Sheriff's Department has not been above reproach. They just haven't, and it's provable. So, You can, love them and sing their praises. And like, I want to too. I am biased towards the pro prosecution, but I'm not just going to be like not saying where I think that they could have done better, because they are. The public they should hold themselves. Their commanders should hold them to, and we should hold them to a higher standard because of the magnitude, the impact that their job has on victims' families and victims of murder and heinous crimes. And it pisses me off that they were not above reproach. Do I think that they have done things that could like get this case like dismissed or a mistrial or appeal? Whew. Some things I'm going to say no, it's just not going to happen, no matter how flowery people want to make it sound. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm happy with these fools. At times they've been fools. And if you can't see that, you got to think about your confirmation bias. And I'm talking to the pro prosecution and the pro law enforcement, which I am. I am too. That's what makes me so mad. An opportunity to review the evidence collected in the investigation. Detective Wilson knows from his training and experience that when individuals commit offenses, evidence of those offenses in the form of a picture or location data is captured on that individual's cell phone. Detective Will also knows that individuals tend to download their phones. I do that. I think that's pretty common, onto other devices and use their cell phone in conjunction with. And I'm sorry, like people that are like, your phone not being in the area, it don't mean shit to me. It doesn't mean shit to me. Like people that I know that have been investigated thoroughly for this particular crime use burner phones. Okay. So you using your phone as an alibi or as like, no, that don't fly with someone like me. And if I was on that jury, I'd be like, that don't, their phone wasn't there. I'd be like, so forking what? Like they left it at home or they had a burner. Like, I mean, it's just not a definitive evidence. Now, if it is there, like Rex Heuermann or something, like, good Lord, that was like blatantly obvious, like trail right this wherever he was, and like their phones backed it up. And like, there are things when it's added in its totality can be, but I'm never going to be the person just like, well, his phone wasn't in the area. Yeah, that means jack shit to me. Just because I know people have been investigated and their phone is definitely not their alibi. And I sent that tip in on my own family member. Tends to download. Okay, so we read that. Believes the information gathered from witnesses, video evidence, and admissions by Richard Allen is reliable. Richard Allen places himself at the trails, and so does his attorneys, and specifically on the Monon High Bridge. He further admits that he is wearing jeans and a dark Carhartt jacket. These are things that they better have not lost this. They better be showing this to the jury. That's for sure. These clothes match the clothes by the individual on the bridge. And the photo's taken. And then, this is signed by Liggett. He is the author of this. And it's approved by McLeland. And so I just looked up a little IMEI because they say it didn't have that, but he had an MEID. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not this type of person. Like I couldn't tell you where the serial phone is on my phone, but like So the IMEI that he doesn't have is a number that identifies a mobile phone. Okay, that's what that is. An MEID is also commonly known as an electronic serial number, mobile equipment identifier. So just because he doesn't have an IMEI, and I'm sure like this may be like, oh my gosh, duh, we knew this, but just for anality's sake, I'm adding it in here. So when it's an electric serial number. Beacon is a site that Carroll County is on, and that is where I found, and I'm not linking it for people because I don't want them going and stalking the whole town of Delphi. But so this is where I found the information on the Hoosier U store, which is at 60, and it's also on 300, which is what we read. And then the Hoosier Harvest store is on 5323 North 500 West. And they were at that time, the Harvest store is owned by someone else now, but they purchased it from the same person that owns this used store. He owned both of these in February 2017, and it was like a deed transfer to another family with a different name in March of 2017. And if you want to find the proof, you can go and find that yourself. I'm just not going to contribute to people being able to look up everyone in Delphi by giving you a link. So this is the Ron Logan files that I have. Just letting you know, I was sent these things by a person that everybody knows, and this is all I've ever forking had. To say that I had the entire case file is nuts, and to say that I hid it from them is nuts. This is all I had. I stated it over and over again, and if someone can't understand what I'm saying, I don't know how to say any different. I got what Murder Sheet got. That's it. And that's the end of the story. I have never had all of these court documents and leaked stuff. That's not anything that I've had. And, I can't help how people want to go to live. That was just super hurtful that I would be a person that would just do that. Ugh. So this was, all right. I tried to remove that and I didn't know how. I did this whole thing just to be a dick to Murder Sheet because I haven't liked him at all, ever. But this is Darren Glencola. So everybody's familiar with him, Carroll County Sheriff's Department. You are Lordy. Oh, you are authorized and ordered in the name of the state of Indiana. This is on March, 6th day of March of 2017. Necessary and proper assistance to enter into the residence located at, this is Ron Logan's address, situated in the county of Carroll and says state, which is described and describes the dwelling, and diligently search for firearms, including handguns. And it's signed by Yoder. And it is kind of one of those things where, this is under his cost number, but, look what they're looking for. And yeah, they did have a right to be, but it's also something that has come up. It is signed by Benjamin Diener. That's the signature right there. It doesn't look any different to me, even though it's a little faded out, but so are other things. So is the stamp. So, and Fouts, and then even the 69 that they added on there is things are blurry about it. I don't think that that is a particular big huge thing. Is it really? Why can't it just go to the next one? So annoying. So AJ Smith, a Indiana State police detective, is affirms that he believes and has good cause to believe firearms are located in the residence of Ronald Logan's, located, and it gives his address, situated in the county of Carroll in the state. Described it. I'm an Indiana State Police detective. During the course of an investigation, I spoke with Mr. Logan, advised that he had firearms, including handguns, in his residence. Mr. Logan is a convicted felon and is not allowed to own firearms. So just want to point out here that Mr. Logan is a convicted felon and he's not allowed to have firearms. So who does that mean that also can't have firearms? Greeno, because he's a convicted felon multiple times over, but he likes to tell people he can carry one. In addition, Mr. Logan is presently on probation, and Mr. Logan executed a Fourth Amendment waiver, like, because he was on probation. So they did search. They were serious, like they're looking for firearms because, and like this was on March 6th. This is the Ron Logan search warrant. Oh my God. It's like literally driving me crazy. I usually have like a little expand button. Oh, there it is. So pointing out, what they're looking for. This is her credentials here. And this goes into some of the, the same, like, just facts of the case, but obviously, like, they're getting a search warrant. These are all viable, signable, under like it's all fine. And like code here again, murder, no parentheses too. And it says that, like his phone is in the area. Oh, look, it may be letting me go to the next one. Wrong way. So we've got some consistencies here. 43-second video. The suspect follows the victim. These are some similarities. Down the hill, similarity. Again, this was March of 2017. And the victims leave the trail and they were on or entered the wooded area below. No person has come forward and identified himself as the person who met the victims and made the statement in. This is the part where it's just like, oh, but they did. And you didn't file the tip right. And they tried to blame it on the FBI, and the FBI was like, no. But I think, like, because I was looking back over the timeline that we all made in the beginning, and it was like, there was a point where the tip line changed over. So it'll be interesting to see those things come out of when Orion was started to be used, because that would mean that those early tips, tip number 74, could have possibly came in. I mean, we know they did, so they may have been ones that are data entered into Orion, and they went from one tip line number to another tip line number, and then the email or the web, like where they wanted you to do that so that it would be in the system that is easy for them to, navigate, keep track of stuff. So this something to throw out there. Lots of similarities, a sharp weapon. This is what Murder Sheet put out, and they like marked things out, and I'm purposely not, because I have some points to prove here with this. And it could be that they changed her name, but the person that was interviewed for, there's so many now, CW, is not in this original search warrant unless they changed her name for her safety. You know, like that was really all I wanted to point out. So I don't know, but to me that like add, you know, like I think Ron Logan was an abusive person. And when you have I hate it that people dismiss, oh, they're just out for revenge, you know, like, no, go study some. There's a serial rapist and his wife kept like trying to get them to do something about him. And they like didn't believe her because they thought you just want to get your divorce easier when you leave him and like he won't get killed. I mean, they just like, but statistically, the people that are telling you, oh, you know, they're usually just out for revenge. And yeah, I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but sometimes these women, because they know they're about to be killed and they barely escape with their life. So of course they think that that person is capable of killing. And it's different people. So now we're up to like, what, 4 women that have accused Ron of this? Does it mean he's Abby and Libby's killer? No, sure don't. And the alibi thing, you know, that is kind of weird. But you also got to remember there are people that came forward in Doug Rice's group that I verified on my own that they lived where they said they lived. And then they came up later on, their kids came up later on in the Garrett Kurtz stuff. So I know where they lived. I know that Ron was one that like he managed, he did, you know, he'd be out there like, get off my property. But those kids were hellions though, you know, and so like he did know a lot. Like it's totally possible that like he, you know, was scared and you don't know why people do the things they do. And they may be look as suspicious as hell, but it doesn't mean that they're the killer, you know, just that's a leap. Books being written about Ron Logan being the Delphi killer by professionals is so like embarrassing for me. Like that they like that's crazy. Yeah. No. It was a long one. Whew. Very organized. I like the way she writes so much better than Liggett. So this is starting getting into the things that they're wanting to search. Look at the commonalities here. It's describing his house, then the detached garage, the outbuildings, the vehicle, the Ford, you know, like this, and related to the murders. And any and all others pertaining to murder. So these are all commonalities: forensic evidence, blood seen and unseen, hair, bodily fluids seen and unseen, fibers, weapons, including guns and cutting instruments, aka knives, maybe scissors, electronic devices used to produce the cellular signals detected by law enforcement. So, you know, and they're looking for any kind of thing where there could be evidence of a crime. Computer data, photographs, videos, emails, sound files, which may contain evidence. Murder, no. These are just things that are common in a search warrant when you think you need a judge to sign a probable cause of search, whether the person has denied, they've said no, get a warrant, which I have to say you should, like you should make them get a search warrant to search your house. I just feel like that's kind of the safest thing to do. It's probably not a popular opinion, but this is one from, it was a press release by his attorney, Andrew Aki, who is of Hillis, Rosie, and Aki. And this was released on March 17th. This is driving me nuts. I have received several phone calls over the past several days from media outlets concerning Mr. Ronald Logan and his possible involvement in the deaths of the girls in Carroll County. I have known Mr. Logan for several years and have represented him in unrelated legal matters. Stated simply, Mr. Logan has no involvement in this heinous crime. That's what lawyers should say. I would like to caution the public to avoid jumping to conclusions before law enforcement has completed the ongoing investigation. Not only does Mr. Logan maintain his innocence, but he also encourages anyone with information to call the tip line and send an email to. So just wanting to show, like, this is really all I got from the person, you know, and I think it's probably the same person at the murder sheet. I would love it if she would come out and just say that. And the Kagan Klein thing, I have that unedited. And that's all I have ever had. And I had no idea at that time the significance of that. And I even stated that when I let them know that I had these things, because I didn't know the significance of them. That's the end of that story. There's literally nothing more to it. Like, that's it. It's sad that someone you think is your friend could like turn things like this around on you and like jump to like such just like so hurtful. Like, I don't know. So now we're getting into the chronological case summary. I'm gonna take a little minute and hop over and see how everyone's doing in the chat. Everybody behaving? Ivy, not that it matters for this case. I've just seen him as the defense attorney in lots of other cases. Hey, Lynn. Even if Whiteman was entered, the last name, they still would have. Yeah, well, and see, the thing is that like there are. They explained it to me personally because of the reason, like, tips get prioritized, and there's things in there that would have been, I don't, but again, I don't know what those things are, but whatever I sent to them was on someone's desk immediately. So it was filtered as high priority in the Orion system and it was dealt with. And does that person clearly literally didn't do it, you know? And that was kind of like, you know, thank God. But, you know, so there are ways that, just like with, you know, like we have access to the Murder Accountability Project, to where if you guys have ever gone down there, Thomas Hargrove, just like such a special man, and the work that he does, you can go in there and you can enter in your own searching data points, and you can put in victimology, you can put in area, you can like literally go like super specific with it. And that gives you a clue as to what would happen in the Orion system, which is a part of the FBI. How did pro-defense people get to her and make her change her story? That's been her story since the beginning. Yeah, that's what I like. That's why I was like, they change her name for that? Or like maybe she changed her last name or something? Because like there was other women in there, which I think adds validity to Connie's story, to where Greeno be the one to like do that. Or to think that like she would change her story based on the ladies from Unraveling. Like, I'm sorry, like that's just a leap. Like, it doesn't mean that he's a killer, but it means that the people that he abused, there's a lot of them. Like, do we just disbelieve them all? um of course they feel that way. If someone tries to kill you, you would feel that way too. Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered. Yeah, wasn't it 317? His phone number? That's a good point, Lynn. Oh, I'm like way far away from that. Should still be up here. It was like a 317 615 phone number. Am I remembering that right? Because 317 is not the area code for that area. 317 is the area code for my area in like Indianapolis. Where was it? I just had it up. Yeesh. I don't know, Humanimal. I never really like. I did an episode about Kagan Klein, the fantasy versus reality. Was like just kind of based that on things, and like I want to bring this up. Okay, I love Gary Bricata's book. I don't know if you guys read it. I highly recommend it. It's one that I have listened to on Audible at least 3 times now. And so this is how I know this. Yes, he did say those things, and he probably does feel a certain way about them. But when you read his book, um, he contradicts himself. So there's that about the profile of the killer. Yeah, 317, you're right. Huh. Interesting. Okay, so here we are. October 28th is when this chronological case summary starts. And the very first thing that was done was a verified request to prohibit public access. Oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. Jeez, Pete. Just give me 1 second. The audacity of some people, I swear. This was filed on October 28th, okay? Can you guys still hear me? Give me just 1 second. I can't. I'm going to go off and just stop messaging me. Sorry about that. Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, Howard County was 317? See, I don't know. I just know that, like, where I'm at, it is. So, yeah. Who's Gary B? Oh, Bricado. Yeah. I like him too. Like I said, like, his book's one of my favorites. Was he? I don't know. I don't remember much about KK. Like, I never really took that. It just didn't. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. And I even told Gray, I was like, look, I get it. Like, it's like, I don't know why. I don't. But they were more logical than me. Gray was about it. Like, I get it. Realize Rosie is partners with Aki. Yeah, just saw that piece of paper. I showed it, right? You guys saw it. Get to her and make her change her story. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked about that. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I had to take a moment to gather myself because there's someone that keeps messaging me, and I had mentioned her name one time, even though she said a lot of shit about my friends, and she was doing it for a whole year. But like that's where it's like there's no coming back from that. Like you show up at my house, and I'm going to call the police, just so you know. Hmm. All right, let's get back to it. So I think I was here, and so this is the first thing that was filed. It was like they wanted to prohibit public access to the court record, which under this rule, which like was later, and I do, that was also under Indiana like laws and procedure. But transparency is something that, like, that's transparency there. But I also see where it's turned into a complete, and people keep saying that McLeland is doing that in his filings when, like, I don't know. I haven't seen him trying to, like, add stuff. And, like, the fact that they held press conferences for an unsolved murder, be pissed if they didn't. Like, of course they are. Like, then it became an adjudicated case. So, like, that's like, you can't argue those. Well, they had all of their time to get their narrative out there. No, they were trying to solve an unsolved crime. Like, and McLeland barely ever spoke. And when he did, he was very careful with his words. A lot more careful than Ives and some of the other ones. But he lists, the asking the court to find that remedial benefits to be gained by effectuating the public policy of the state are outweighed by a preponderance of evidence from the above referenced reasons and seal the records. And McLeland nor Judge Diener did anything wrong with this. Do I like it? No, because I think transparency is needed. We need more of it. Just pointing that out, that you can look up the rule, and it follows that. And this is the court order sealing it. And again, he references 353411, allowing for the sealing of information. We may not like it, but take it up with changing the legislation, like, and then he sets a hearing, requests, and all court records are ordered sealed and are deemed confidential under Indiana Rule of Court on access to court records, Rule 6, pending public hearing, and schedules above. So this is you see the signature is the same. I've heard people saying stuff about that. Well, signature's different if you go and look and compare it. Listen, if you saw my horrible signature, it is different every single time. Like, I've even been like, my signature, I just like sign your name on your ID, and they're like, "Ma'am, this isn't your signature." Like, they'll like, I'm like, but it is. It's just when I try. But mine is just literally a hot mess, and it's never the same. Anyway, so there is a bond that was set on the 28th. No, 27. And it is $20 million cash or corporate surety. And this was this is the initial hearing at 10:30 a.m. on October 28th of 2022. Signature of Judge Diener. Looks the same. So these are the first two things that were filed on this case. And then then later these are the things that were added after the seal was removed by Judge Gall. Again, parentheses 2. We went over that last time of what that means. And it says, victim 1, while committing or attempting to commit kidnap of victim 1, and of which is contrary to the form of the statute in such cause made and provided in 3542(1)(1) parentheses 2 against the peace and dignity of the state of Indiana. It lists their witnesses right away, who they're mainly going to call. Obviously, they're going to add more, but some familiar names here. You see Oberg, the ISP. You see AJ Smith. You see McWhirter. These are all names. Beto. There's the one of the eyewitness, Jay Harper, Holman, Liggett. Like a lot of the things that they were right in the beginning. These were of record of some of the witnesses that were going to be called. Count 2. It's the same. Victim 2, while committing or attempting to commit kidnapping of victim 2. So that's what that is right there, because this kidnapping is a felony. And it's the same, and it is not signed. So I do recognize that. But like, well, that'll have to bring some clarity somewhere else. This is the probable cause affidavit where everyone thinks, oh, McLeland, like he intentionally left, like he left things out, and like, no, he's a prosecutor versus Liggett is like what, like at that time, was he the sheriff or no? But two things can be true at one time. Like, I can think that there's some shady shit going on in Carroll County, and I can also think that this case can be properly adjudicated, and time will tell. And if I'm wrong, I'm okay with that. You don't know what you don't know. But I don't think that the things that were added to that, obviously that was, like, it's yes, this is stuff that he is saying, like, we're corroborated the totality of circumstances, that the hearsay statements of witnesses contained herein are considered reliable and credible due to the witness's personal knowledge and or corroborated by the totality of circumstances. Then again, there's just the murder here. And I did compare these, but I forgot to save it. You only, like DocHub, you only have things for free for a little bit of time, and that sucks. But I'm not paying for another thing. I spend way too much money to do this free job. Like, I don't know why I'm even doing it. Crazy. And it causes like problems with my family, but I have like a passion for it, but that's why I said, like, I'm going to keep doing these if people are appreciating them, and you can appreciate them by a super chat. So thank you, Daisy, for earlier. I do really appreciate that. But like, I can't, like at the end of the day, it takes a lot of time. It just does. And it's time away from other things. And yes, my children are grown. Well, they'll never be grown for me, but I have a job. I have a life. I have family. I have people that I'm not going to like shove to the side so I can do this for free. Like, it doesn't even pay for itself for me to be doing these things. And while I'm not out grifting and begging for money, like, if you support what I do, it would really help me out to be able to justify the time away that I spend from other things and working, like, to keep doing this. I know I'm not that important, but I'm definitely not going to be stealing your money and telling you I'm making a documentary or just totally grifting with the money that you would do to support me. And we talked about this again where I'm almost positive now that it was Bob Mata that mentioned that they will do this and then, the judge can like sign it. It does kind of bother me a little bit that they're not signed. I feel like they should be signed, and I hope we come across them signed here soon. This is the order on the initial hearing that they had for Richard Allen. This took place on October 28th. So appears Nicholas McLean. The defendant appears in person in custody of the sheriff of Carroll County. Defendant is advised of his rights to counsel and his constitutional and statutory rights, the charges against him, and the possible penalties. Defendant advises the court he intends to hire private counsel. This is his decision, right? Defendant is advised that he must retain counsel. So they're even telling him like, hey, you got to do this within the like 20 days because, they're trying to protect his constitutional rights. Deadlines associated with the omnibus hearing, which may be waived if not timely pled. Pleas of not guilty are entered. So he entered that plea of not guilty, totally common. The omnibus hearing is set for January 13th of 2023 at 9 a.m. The trial for jury, they always set this, but you notice how they set it for one day. Like, so they know like this isn't, it's not going to happen, but they have to do this. Will be held without bond. So they did McLeland, like, that was one of the things. I think I said it kind of out of order. The court now orders defendant be held without bond pending further hearing. It was set for trial by jury on March 20th. Of course, not going to happen in one day. We all knew, like, people were like, oh my gosh, it's just like taking so long. And like, this is pretty short. Like, if you look at other, some of them are like an outrageously long amount of time, like, and some of like, I would say that the median, I'm not an attorney, but I would have to say like the median would be like 2.5 years to 3. Pretrial conference is set for January 13th. The defendant and counsel for the parties are ordered. Discovery shall be completed as provided by local criminal rule, and it lists the criminal rule, on or before the 15th day prior to the trial date, March 20th, 2023. Because these are some things that I think they they screwed up on. I think that some of them have been, Shakespeare'd, but some of them, like, you gotta call it like you see it if you want people to take you seriously. They shall complete the omnibus report, which shall be filed with the court prior to the omnibus hearing. They shall exchange lists of the names and addresses of witnesses and exhibits. They shall discuss simplification of the issues, motions, then pending or which may be filed before the commencement of trial, stipulations, therefore, of prosecution and defense, and plea negotiations, if any. The court will not accept a plea agreement after the omnibus hearing without a showing of good cause why the plea agreement could not have been reached. These are all just like technical things judges like have to say. Letting them know about witnesses and exhibits, the jury instructions, and it's signed. So we have a signed document. And then we're going to go a little bit into this, and then I'm going to call it a night. 2 years, another bond hearing. This is 2022. I'm going back. Thanks, Big. This is just an acknowledgement of the, everything that happened in chronological order, even though we didn't get all this stuff until later. It gives you the pursuant codes. All of these are things that people should look up. The access to court records, Rule 6. Just, pretty straightforward. I'm just trying to like, this is a high profile case, and I've seen it in other cases. I've covered the other case in Indiana where they did seal everything and the public didn't know much. And guess what? It was properly adjudicated and held up on appeals, so people saying that sealing cases is not a thing and that it would well, there's other ones that they've done it with, but I do agree. Transparency. So this is Diener, and he was like, sealed record shall be unsealed at the earliest possible time after the circumstances necessitating the sealing of the records no longer exist. So even him is like saying, like, you only got a little bit of time here. Now what this means, it could be at the end, but this is completely above board. There's a rule for it. There's, and it's one of those, judicial decisions. So this is the request this is on November 3rd. This is the request by the sheriff of Carroll County at that time was Tobe Lesenby. It was on November 2nd of 2022 to transfer inmate from custody of the sheriff to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections for safekeeping under Indiana Code 353311-1. This is the code. Upon motion by sheriff, prosecuting attorney, defendant, or as counsel, attorney general, or court, alleging that an inmate in a county jail awaiting trial is in danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. The court shall determine whether the inmate is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. And if the court finds that the inmate is in danger of serious bodily injury or death, or represents this, then it shall order the sheriff to transfer the inmate to another county jail or to a facility of the Department of Corrections, that's IDOC, designated by the commissioner of the department as suitable for the confinement of that prisoner, and provided that space is available for the purpose of this chapter. An inmate is not considered a danger of serious bodily injury or death due to an illness or a medical condition. It's not like this was not why the safekeeping thing happened, was because of anything he did. And hello, like Greeno threatens to kill him all the time. So you can't tell me that there isn't a risk of him being in a dinky Carroll County jail. They just opened the new one after, and it's they they did the right thing. And if they hadn't, I guarantee you the pro defense would be yelling the same things about his constitutional, he's not safe, the constitutional, they're not doing the right thing, and it is what it is. You can take it for Indiana code, or you can take it emotionally. It's up to you. Ellen was in the Carroll County Jail on October 26th of 2022, then transferred to White County, which is, they're right there. And then he was transferred to Westville Correctional Facility on November 3rd. So the request by the sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana, to transfer inmate from custody of the sheriff to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections for safekeeping. The aforementioned defendant, Richard Matthew Allen, has been incarcerated since October 26th, initially at the Carroll County Jail and then transferred to the White County Jail at my request as sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana. Then it just kind of goes through, and it lists again 35, 33, 11, 1, request of the court and order approving and directing the transfer of the defendant to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections. Said agency has agreed to accept custody of the defendant for safekeeping. And Judge Diener does a great job of letting people know why. And you can't say that there isn't a cause. There isn't a causation for that when you got wild maniacs out there threatening to kill him. Yeah, we don't want him to be killed. That's horrible. That would be a violation of his constitutional rights and as a United States citizen. Because he's still an alleged. And lists another one, 35, 33, 11, 5. I will be responsible for transporting. And they have, and everybody thinks, oh my gosh, he's been so abused. Look at the way they're transferring him. When mostly it's, they have to keep him safe. They have to, especially when you have maniacs out there threatening to kill him and vigilante justice. I don't understand why people don't want that for him, that claim to be on his side. They don't want him to be safe when he's being transferred. They think it's too much. I find that so hypocritical. This was signed on November 2nd. Granting the sheriff's request to transfer the defendant so this is the judge, and he doesn't do anything wrong here in this safekeeping order. The court, being duly advised, finds that the defendant is an inmate awaiting trial and is in imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death, or represents a substantial threat to the safety of others. The finding, all caps, is not predicated on any acts or alleged acts of the defendant. They're not bringing in his mental health whatsoever here, just take a note, since arrest, rather a toxic and harmful insistence of public information in the defendant and the case. So they did the right thing in transferring. This is common too. This isn't like so outrageous. This isn't just, just a Richard Allen only type thing. And like they're giving the all of the legalities of this. It's all right there. Like, people can trick you because you don't look these things up, And then he gets a little drama, which, I would love to have an interview with him one day down the road. Yeah, concurrent to the actual case naturally occurring, this judicial office keeps getting direct requests from non-parties for public information. Like, how frustrating has that been to watch all of these people involving themselves just for cred? Like, it's ridiculous. And it's like, he had to been like, this is like, they don't even know how this works. This isn't what this is not my job. Claiming that this officer has 7 days for one day when handed delivered to respond to the request or face litigation. Like, I think he has every right to be like ticked off at this and annoyed. While this officer is responsible for the entirety of the circuit court docket and attempts to ignore the maelstrom of interest from the public, it is known that YouTube already hosts content regarding family members in this judicial office, including photos. And that did happen. And, he's got this bloodlust word in here, but other people have used that bloodlust word, and that's not hypocrisy. Okay. For information before it exists is extremely dangerous. All public servants administering this action to not feel safe or not protected. The Carroll County Sheriff has limited resources to conduct its base operations, let alone any duties mandated by our Supreme Court. And you know what, who you can be mad at is the dumb person that like wanted to, like, they were trying to get prepared. And I went over that before with how the IDOC stopped taking, like, jails in Indiana. At least they used to be just for housing people that were pre-detainees. And then when they were sentenced, they were moved on around, whether it was to work release in Tippecanoe in Indiana anyway, or to IDOC. And then laws changed. And anyone with a misdemeanor, or I think a felony, might have been 5, but definitely 6 and under, were now to be housed in these jails that were not prepared for this, and they don't have the space. They don't have the funds. And then the person that they hired to like plan this, like the new jail, it was outrageous. And the county board said no. And so it was like a back and forth thing. So at one point where I think they seemed completely unprepared for an arrest, they really did. They weren't ready. The judge wasn't ready. The sheriff's department wasn't ready. The jail wasn't ready. Like, lots of things were not ready. So it's like kind of frustrating. So it says, in general, this court has 30 days to rule on any motion that is filed by a party in any case. Yet concurrent to the actual case naturally occurring, the judicial office keeps getting direct requests for non-parties for public information. It's so crazy. The Carroll County Sheriff has limited resources. I already read that part. Sorry. And they are underpaid. They really are. Most of the public interest consists of people attempting to raise their status or profit financially. That's true. We've seen that throughout this whole case with all these people writing in like, "Ooh, look at me. I'm a media person with a fake media pass. And the judge is now going to correct it," which hasn't happened. So but they inserted themselves in there for exactly what Diener said in the very beginning. And we know that this is true now because it's happened repeatedly. The public peddles information. And then there's some people that have had to write in that I'm sure they are just so like embarrassed, that they have had to do this because they've been dragged into it. But there's others that are just so proud of themselves. Frank, Greeno, little Frank. He says the court notes for public that when defendant appears for initial hearing, he was clad in protective gear. That protection was not to protect the defendant from the court. That protection was to protect the defendant from the public. Until a finding of guilt or a judgment of conviction occurs, in any case, judgment must be reserved and the presumption of innocence must be respected and preserved. According to, again, the statutes, the court orders the sheriff of the Carroll County to transfer the defendant to the facility of the Department of Corrections designated by the commissioner of the department as suitable for the confinement of the judgment and to provide the spaces available. Just so you know, the Indiana Department of Corrections commissioner's name is Christina Regal. You should write to her if you have issues with it, because once this happened, she is now responsible for Richard Allen. That's it. That's just the truth. And it was sent to Richard Allen himself. Okay, like there's nothing shaky about this. Now there is a motion for safekeeping because I guess like Liggett, now he's the sheriff and he's kind of like, I'm fine with it. I don't know that it will be able to override Judge Diener and Lesenby, because now you have the IDOC. They have taken over the responsibility of his safety. So that's where I'm just like, I don't know the answer. I don't know if it can be reversed. I would think it would be something that the commissioner would have to be involved in, but if she gives an okay, then like the judge should sign that if they really want that. I kind of think it's a mistake. I kind of worry more about him in, I think it's Cass County than I do where he's at, just because of crazy people in the world that think that killing him would be a positive thing. Like, that's scary to me for this alleged killer, because he's alleged right now. And then, so it was kind of clear he was like overwhelmed in this. And then he is his order of recusal and certification to the Indiana Supreme Court for selection of a special judge outside of Carroll County upon certification of the Supreme Court of Indiana of cases in which no judge is eligible to serve as special judge or the particular circumstances of a case warrant selection of a special judge by the Indiana Supreme Court. So again, here's the local rule, and this is, he can step down, and they allowed him, and that's a Supreme Court thing. Ensure the effective use of all judicial resources within the administrative district. The Carroll County Circuit and the Carroll County Superior Court shall maintain lists of eligible judges. Sorry, it's just wild to me that they picked a judge in Allen County that's so far away when there are great judges nearer, like Moulter for one. I mean, he's a little closer. He's like right there, but he's a little closer. I just sat in with Garrett Kurtz in White County. He seemed like a completely capable judge. Like, I don't understand why they had to go so far away. It seems like a complete inconvenience and makes everything harder by having the judge be so far away from Carroll County. Like, that is, I don't understand why they picked her. I don't know. Like, was she just next up? Was it she wanted it? Was there like a no one else would do it? Like, I want answers to those questions of why she in particular was picked. Yeah, Ivy, that irks me too. Like, oof. So this is this recusal under local rule. It's this just showing you. So they appoint. Oh, this is the local rule. Just for see, look, Carroll County Circuit Court and Superior Court's local rule. Oh, look right here, guys. You can literally look scope of rules, transfer of action, judge sitting in either court, proposed orders, motions, voir dire, jury instructions. Like these are all things that you can look up, just write for yourself. And I will put the links to this all in the description tomorrow. Okay. So you have all of these things that you can peruse. And I really appreciate, Delphi Dilemma adding these to the groups because they are helpful, not just for me, but for everybody. Just proof that I'm not pulling this stuff out of my ass. Okay. So she is assigned, and November 9th, correspondence from Richard Allen himself, and he is pleading with the court to appoint an attorney for him, and I see this a lot too. And people that follow it, they were like, I can, and then they figure out like, oh shit, there's no way. It's like with like my daughter's stuff with the medical, like she, at one time she had 12 specialists and then like got down to 9, but one was in Cincinnati, and she's had surgeries that are millions of dollars. Like, you can't, I don't care how much you make, you can't pay for that. And like, even with the insurance that we have, which is so great, like 20% is, and it's one of those that is 80-20, it's like great for people that don't have like a chronic illness, but there's just things you get in the middle of and you're like, oh shit, can't. So I try not to add, like, I've seen other people where I get it and I want to add that too, just like, why didn't he say he didn't do it? But like, again, he's probably just like, he probably is like emotionally, like he's probably really tired. Like, there's a lot of like, it is a thing, like alcoholism. If I'm not saying that he had that, but like, I know that like the men in my life that have been drinkers and then stopped, they lost their beer bellies quickly and like slimmed down quickly. And it's also, like if you are a severe alcoholic, like it can kill you, and like the withdrawal is like one of the only ones, like you can die. I've had a friend die in a hospital because of withdrawal. It was terrible. But he doesn't, like, in this cause listed above, I, Richard M. Allen, hereby throw myself at the mercy of the court. I am begging to be provided with legal assistance in a public defender or whatever help is available. This also shows me that he is not super familiar with his rights. So this is a man that like, just like on a, like he's not been like preparing for this day. Just pointing that out. It's evident here. And you would know that all he has to say is da 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 da. I have a right to this under this code, da, 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 and I want it. Not like, please, throwing myself at the mercy of the court. This is someone that doesn't know how the court works. At my initial hearing on October 28th, I asked to find representation for myself. However, at the time, I had no clue how expensive it would be just to talk to someone. And it is. I think a retainer. Phew, my retainer for my divorce was, I think, around $2 grand. So I can't imagine what a retainer for a defense attorney specializing in like murder. That's what it is, and like felony 1s and higher, or felony 2s and higher. Like I'm sure they're not cheap. Would be just. I had no clue. Yeah, just to talk to someone. I also did not realize what my wife and I's immediate financial situation was going to be. We have both been forced to immediately abandon employment. Myself due to being incarcerated, and my wife for her personal safety. Which people suck. I'm sick of people blaming her. We have no idea. Her supporting her husband. Why do people have such a problem with that? Like, I don't get it. And his mom? My daughter murdered someone. You bet your ass I'm going to be there right behind her every chance I get. Whether I am like, I'm not going to agree with what she did, but I'm never going to not love her, and I'm never going to not be there for her. Like, stop judging these two women. I'm sick of it. It's bullshit. Not realize what my, and we have both been forced that for her person. Yeah, she has had to abandon our house for her safety, her own safety. What little reserve there is will fail to even maintain the original residence. Again, I throw myself at the mercy of the court. Please provide me whatever assistance you may. Thank you for your time in this most urgent matter. And it is signed by Richard Allen, and it is postmarked November 7th. Okay. And then this is goal is now, and this is the defendant is unable to hire counsel and is entitled to court appointed counsel and investigation. Court appoints attorney Bradley Rosie and attorney Andrew Walden as contract public defenders. Counsels instructed to enter their written appearance and be available for hearing on November 22nd. This was ordered on November 14th. Yeah. So November 7th, timely manner. He has appointed 2 public defenders of record. Bradley Rosie is his lead, and Andrew Baldwin is co-counsel. And again, I'm not sure why the 2 defense attorneys are so far away from each other. Makes no sense to me. I mean, I think it would be much more, beneficial if they were close to each other, let alone the judge being close. Like, it's just, like, that part is just like, I don't get it. So I'm not reading decorum. This is one of the first things that his attorneys did, and as they should. This is very important. A petition to let bail filed by the defense. Okay. The pro defense should be pissed off at these 2 that they didn't follow through with this, or at the very least, they should be asking Why? Why? So now comes the accused by counsel pursuant Article 1, and I have all these. I'm going to show you these things. Fry, state, all. These are things that are decisions made that they are allowed, like they can have this. This is a right of a defendant in the state of Indiana to conduct a hearing and then release the accused on his own recognizance, or in alternative to set a reasonable bail, because $2 million and then no bail is not reasonable. In support of his petition, the accused bears the following: that the accused, Richard Allen, was arrested and charged with murder on October 28th. The defense has received and reviewed the probable cause affidavit that, as of the time of the filing in this motion, has been sealed. That because neither the proof of guilt is evident, this is an important part, nor the presumption of guilt strong, and I agree with them here. The accused is seeking a hearing to release the accused on his own recognizance, or in the alternative to set a reasonable bail. And there can be conditions to that reasonable bail. Wherefore the accused by counsel respectfully plays that the court release the accused on his own recognizance and set a reasonable bail, which she did. She set this, the order set the hearing on petition to let bail. Yeah, like it was one where she didn't sign it, so I was kind of thinking that maybe this was what Bob was talking about. But regardless, it was set. And then the media's, they intervened because they wanted the public access. And like, I'm not going to read all that. Like, it's like a side thing. This was on November 22nd. The hearing was held at 9 a.m. And this is him asking to seal certain, things and put gag orders in place on November 22nd. Serial 2 counts of murder. I don't think this was one that we, place would ensure that the parties abide by Indiana rules of professional conduct, Rule 3.6. So it's like he kind of had a feeling. And she took it under advisement. The defendant appears in person with counsel Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin. The state appears by McClelland. Hearing held on state's verified request to prohibit public access. The court filed October 28th. Matter taken under advisement. She didn't make a ruling. Defendant's petition to let bail filed on November 21st. Order to set for hearing in the Carroll County Circuit Court February 17th of 2023 at 10 a.m. The court will enter a separate transport order for the defendant. Omnibus date rescheduled to February 17th at 10 by agreement of counsel. So the let bail was set for hearing. Yeah, but this is more part of the hearing. Where it takes this under advisement, the media. That's the petition. February, like I said, February 17th, the transport order was entered. And then there's a brief appearance by Shane Evans, who somehow became the elected judge of Carroll County. Like, whoa. Help me understand that. Like, that's wild to me. It's like little to no experience in trial court or just being a lawyer. Like, it's wild that Carroll County breaks all. I think they're like Guinness for like the youngest coroner of all time, like the youngest mayor of all time. Like, I don't know. I don't understand. Motion to intervene. This is more media stuff. Rule 6, like the interveners as the judge, like I'm not getting all into all that. They change of venue, which they did. It was accepted, and why it wasn't just all moved there, I don't know, but again, in practicality for where the crime took place, where the prosecutor is, where most of the family lives. So again, like it should be, it'd be great if Carroll County Courthouse was bigger, but it should be held in Carroll County. It just because of those reasons. But I just think it's like the distance of the judge and the attorneys, like that's crazy. Not Rosie, but like Baldwin and the judge. So she did order the stuff unsealed on November 22nd. She unsealed the charging information, the probable cause, and then she set up that weird thing with her clerk, like releasing it all, which I thought was very odd, and I've never seen that before, but maybe I just have never seen it before. So then on December 1st, the defense releases a press release. At this point in time, we have received very limited information about this case. Yeah. Well, remember, what did the other one say of when the jury trial was? So, as they should, they filed this, but then the discovery starts coming in. They admit he owned a Ford Focus in February 2017. He is very limited information of this case and look forward to having something more to view than that which was offered up in the sparse PCA. I agree. Moving forward, it is our intent to scrutinize the discovery as it is received and give the necessary attention to the volumes of tips we are receiving. Interesting. The extent we continue to discover information that points to Rick's innocence, we will offer up this information to the public. No. So long as we are not prohibited from doing so as a result of the recent request by the prosecutor for a gag order. So Rick contact. So they're admitting these things. His own attorneys who speak on his behalf, people. Rick contacted the police and voluntarily discussed being at the trail that day. Rick volunteered to meet with a conversation officer outside of a local grocery store to offer up details of his trip to the trail on the day in question. Rick tried to assist with the investigation and told the police that he did not recall seeing 3 younger girls on the trail that day. And again, how many years later was this? He contacted, his contact with the girls was, he did recall. And his contact with the girls was brief and of little significance. Rick does not recall if this interaction with the conservation officer was tape recorded, but believes that the conservation officer scribbled some notes on a notepad and Rick spoke to him. So they're admitting these things. And then they get into the lawsuits and things like that. And again, the main thing I just wanted to point out is they are placing their client, saying they're speaking for him, and they're placing him there. So I feel like their little press release kind of did a big backfire-roo. But then the gag order was actually issued later that day. But They didn't, they you know, they got it in. And then the change of venue requested by the defense is set for hearing. They had that hearing. Then there was a revised gag order. To where now, like, says it very clear and the date is on it. But again, I don't know about you, but I didn't think the state did a very good job of proving it. That there was more to it to prove intent other than this Westerman taking the photos. You know, they could, I think that they should have subpoenaed way more people than they did to prove intent. Or she could have held the hearing the right way in the first place, but she tried not to do that. She didn't do that. And then she literally says the same thing. This is the only time she's lit the cameras in the courthouse. That pisses me off. And it didn't so much at the time, but her record over all of the night, there's been no public, you know, since that day. So yeah, that clearly was done intentionally to back them into a corner, to force them to quit. You could see that now because of how much time has gone by. And she just did it to him again. You know, it's like, stop. Just be above reproach. An order granting the state's motion for order prohibiting the parties, counsel, law enforcement, court personnel, coroner, family members from disseminating information. So this is under Rule 3.6, trial publicity in its entirety, and Rule 3.8, special responsibility of a prosecutor in its entirety. So she told them both what she was expecting of them. Signed November 2nd. And these are the things that I looked up, just, you know, what they mean of like trial publicity and the special responsibility of the prosecutor. And I will put these in the show notes. There was an ex parte motion filed by the defense. And those are, you know, they're requesting funding, and the prosecutor should have never read those. Like, that's so embarrassing. Like, what was he thinking? Like, good God. Hey, Greg. Why would that be interesting then, to theorize or on little information? Know that profile was full of crap. Don't believe everything they say. Where's this press release? It was released by the defense attorneys. Huh? Never heard that, Daisy. All I know is that I've read Gary Bricata's book, and he contradicts himself on that live he did with like one of those, I don't remember, the interview room. Oh my gosh, it's 1 a.m. Whew. Wonder my ass hurts. I wish I could, Lynn, but I can't afford that for sure. That's what sucks, is like when you miss a day of a trial, like you miss a lot of like context. Like you got to go to all of it, or I don't know. Like there are days where I could be like, yeah, I know what's going to take place on this day, just based on, you know, how the case will go. But like, I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of person, so it's just too expensive. Like, props to people that can take off that long of a time, and like especially ones that are traveling here to do so. But I can't miss that much work. What's her name? What's her name, Daisy? Because there's some of them out there, and I'm just like, if it's that freaking coffin daft. But yeah, like if it's like Ann Burgess or like some of the other ones, but like, but again, like I read all their books, so that was like so weird to me that his book is like, it's co-authored and it's like really good, and it gives you all of these like it like breaks down. I should make sure it's a great book. I know I've read like a couple of Gary Bruchata's books. And that was why I was just like, what's he doing right now? Because he's contradicting himself. Um, what the hell is it? This is getting on my nerves. The New Evil. Yeah, it's called The New Evil. It's by Michael Stone, MD, and Gary Bruchata, PhD. It's a good book. It was just kind of like, wow, that's kind of weird that he contradicted his own like profiling work that he put into a book. If you know what I mean. Hey, Johnny. Yeah. That's a paper. Smile. Request for rule to set for hearing. Decorum, not reading all those. State's response to the supplemental motion, but these are just like things like this is just the chronological timeline, and the change of venue was granted, and this was on poll of where they wanted to poll based on. They have a list of things, and the defense decided that Allen County would be the best place to get a jury of his peers that would be not know so much, or what's it, impartiality and things like that, or whatever the words are. Here's where we go with my main point about not understanding why people aren't just as pissed off at these two defense attorneys as they are with the state and everyone else and him being innocent or whatever. Like, because these two things, for the people that know how these things work, these are pretty significant. They would have been significant whether the judge said yay or nay. It forces the prosecutor to go deeper than the PCA. To call witnesses. They have to prove, now obviously not to the degree of, at a jury trial, but enough that a reasonable jury would find him. I think it's like a 51% or something. It's got like a ratio on it. And so if the state, they are the ones that have to prove that Richard Allen, based on the no bond on murder in Indiana, they would have to call state witnesses, and they would have to prove beyond the PCA that he shouldn't be giving a reasonable bond, or and then, any of those things that can be offered. Or sometimes, like with Ashley Garth, the prosecutor was like, hey, I don't want to try this case before it even gets started. So he made a deal to let her out, because he wanted to try it in a court of law with a jury. So you never know what could have happened. But you know what? We would have known a lot more information. And it's interesting that they get the discovery, and then they're like, oh yeah, we don't want to have a motion to let bail. We want to have a suppression hearing. First thing they do when they start getting the discovery. Interesting. But he's innocent. Okay. So obviously the states, they don't want this. They don't want this at all. But they are going, if they would have kept this date, they would have been forced to show their hand very early on in November. This was requested. The first hearing would be held, on January 13th of 2023? He's arrested in October of 2022. We would have found out a shit ton more at this let bail hearing. So you got to ask yourself, why did they not follow through with it? What did they get in that discovery that they're like, whoa, did they not want that coming out at that let bail? Because again, the prosecutor, the burden of proof is on him. He's going to have to call witnesses. I watched this go down in a murder trial in another county. The detective was ready to go. And then it was like, hey, we've reached an agreement to give her a bond of this. And, it happened. I didn't know that was a thing until I learned it was a thing, and it is a thing. So he doesn't want it. And, they're like, it's not bailable if the state proves by preponderance of evidence that the proof is evident or the presumption strong that the defendant committed the offense. And then they filed for a continuance of bail hearing and jury trial is filed by the defense February 7th. And then on February 13th, media intervened again. The state's response to continue let bail and jury trial. So they continued it. That's the state's response to it. Oh, I didn't find it. So they had a remote hearing on February 16th. Where is it? Well, I forgot to save it. What? I don't know why. But it was they motioned to continue the bail hearing, and the jury trial then is filed by the defense on February 7th. Okay, which makes perfect sense because now they're receiving the discovery, right? Like them wanting to continue it, like makes perfect sense. Like not a big deal. The order grants defense motion to continue bail hearing to June 15th and 16th at 8:30 a.m. 2023 and to set jury trial at that time. And the jury trial was scheduled for March 21st through the 24th, which we know, like they knew that they weren't going to add that into the schedule because it wasn't going to happen. Like everybody knew that. And then we'll go back to this, but to go to this. Why are these missing? Well, we'll find them later, but on May 22nd of 2023, the defense files a motion to suppress. Defense files a motion to convert the bail hearing into a suppression hearing for a variety of reasons. The defense motions to convert the let bail hearing scheduled for June 15th of 2023 to a motion to suppress the fruits of the search warrant at its residence. Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that something? By counsel and moves this court to convert the hearing that is currently scheduled for June 15th and from a let bail hearing, totally different than a suppression hearing, completely different. In support of this motion, the accused states the following, that currently this matter is set for let bail hearing on June 15th. For a variety of reasons, counsel for the accused requests that the let bail hearing be converted to a suppression hearing. The accused first contemporaneously files contemporaneously his motion to suppress fruits of the search. That counsel for the accused believes that a hearing on said motion should last no more than 4 hours in terms of testimony and argument. And frankly, it was pretty lame. The court convert the hearing currently scheduled from let bail to suppression. This is a big, like, here's your sign. Here's your sign. Just saying. Hey, Kay, you gonna come over and call me stupid again? When you're the one that can't read? And she converted it. And that's where I'm going to leave off because this is long. But I know myself. Like, if I don't do it long ass like this, like, I won't be back. I'll be gone for another 2 weeks and be inconsistent. Like, I don't have time. It's too expensive to do this. It's literally too expensive. It's too expensive for time. Like, I got to work. Like, real money work. It's like, God. It's not like I'm not asking you guys to like pay my way, but like I see a bunch of people sending shit, like super chats to people that like do absolutely nothing, but not give a super chat to someone that literally clearly is showing you that they put a shit ton of time into stuff. It's like, I like making money on the Greeno stuff because it doesn't bother my conscience, but at the same time, like I'm like, I'm not going to keep doing this. And you could be, shitty and say whatever you want to fucking say about like me asking for super chats, but you come do a bunch of work for free, whether it is something that you truly care about or not, and justify that with the time it takes away from your family. And the fact that when I do have family on, I donate that money. Like, I don't keep it. But just the subscriptions I have to have alone, like, just can't keep justifying to myself for freaking being here. And you can say I'm being bitchy and moaning, and yeah, I kind of am. It's very frustrating. Especially when you see people like Greeno, like making a fake documentary that's never going to fucking happen. And people are sending him money left and right. It's just so like, wow. They probably promised already he would get out. Yeah, but he wouldn't. He wouldn't though, because his lawyers are the ones that canceled it. He could have. And I'm not saying he would have. I'm not saying that the judge would have voted, but all I'm saying would have forced the prosecution, because people have had a big problem with the way things have been going down. And it would have forced them into giving away more of their case. You can think it's a joke all you want, but it is the truth. They have to hold the hearing, and the prosecutor, the burden of proof is on him to get before a judge, calling witnesses, and it's a public hearing. So we, the public, would have known more at the very least. Would Richard Allen have gotten a bail? Like, probably not. But why didn't they try? That's my point. Of why did they not go forward with that? Because they know, as experience, what do they say, 175 years between the two of them or something? They know the importance of those let bail meaningful bond hearings. And it's not because they think their client's going to get bond. It's forcing the hand. And the public is now, it's a great way to have a press release early on, very early on. And my point is that they canceled it and turned it into a suppression of the fruits of the search warrant. So what was in the search warrant that they felt that was more important. They want to suppress that. And it's like, for reasons we don't want to say, we're not going to follow through with the bail. And we would like to have a suppression hearing, which, I'm sorry, but that was a joke. The things that they were saying in there were just like, no, that's not how any of that works. He didn't need to add all that. And then getting on it like the muddy and bloody, and like again, you got to prove the intentionality of things, malice behind it. Same as I said that the state didn't prove the intention of malice behind what with the leaks. It's no different. Both sides should agree with me on this. Oh, I thought she was saying that it was a joke for the... Yeah, hey, Kay. Like, she tells on her, like, there's people, like, listen, the people that have been around a while, like, I can ask, like, I don't even have to say a lot. Like, I'll just say something, and, like, there are certain things that if you watch me, just the very rare places that I go, I can ask in a chat to know exactly what the host and anyone in that chat actually knows about this case. And everyone that's been here for a really long time they know what I'm talking about. It becomes blatantly obvious who knows and also outside of that, who follows criminal law and procedure, who reads the Indiana code, who reads the Constitution, who reads the Indiana statutes and rules for like criminal codes, and who follows appeals, who, you know, there's very simple questions that when they like answer improperly, it just lets you know, well, they don't really know what they're talking about. And it pisses me off that they act like they do and people believe them because they got a camera and a microphone. Like, they're not an authority. Neither am I, but I can read and I keep doing it. Like, you keep reading and like nobody fucking cares about the law. And it's like buck wild to me that people don't care about the Indiana code, Indiana constitution, the actual constitution, or learning about that stuff. They just want to get all emotional and jump on a bandwagon of pro prosecution and pro defense. It's like, God. And for, like I said earlier, for the death of 2 little girls to be turned into a extremism is so disrespectful, and it's beyond words what people are doing, and they all think they're right. No, every single one of you, I don't care what side of it on you are like, oh, we have to like protect the prosecutor and the defense. No, that's not your fucking job to go after the other side like you're doing. You're not right. You're no better than them. And the other side is no better than them when you act like children, like middle schoolers act better than some of these people. Like, it's a circus. And me trying to say Abby and Libby are innocent is just a way of like, hey, I think maybe everybody could agree to that, right? Can we all agree that Abby and Libby are innocent? You're so funny, Abby. You know who I'm talking about. She's been around a long time. They should want their clients saved. Yeah, they should want their clients saved. So I don't know what they're doing, you know, but we're going to get into all of that and you're going to see. Sorry, if you want, this is not special to Richard Allen. The way that Richard Allen is being treated is not unique to him. If you want it changed, and you can go watch Unlocked. You will learn a ton, and you will hear, and you will actually see with your own eyes. And then you can go back and read these Shakespearean, he's in this, I guess up 6 by 9. And like, there's now, guess what? When you go watch Unlocked, you're going to actually see what that is. Do I like it? Do I think that it is completely counterproductive and disgusting? That is the way we treat people that are suicidal? That is crazy to me. That is absolutely crazy to me. It's also very common to have I've seen this take place on shows that aren't even related. It was on like, what was I watching? It was some like reality show of like, it had to do with like jails and like the way they operate. But yeah, people working their way up and doing the 15-minute thing. Not special to Richard Allen. It's just not. Like, sorry to tell you, like, they can make it sound all just so, oh my gosh, this is so egregious, and like he's just gonna die, and like, we should all want it changed for every pre-detainee, if you even want to just like go just there, It sounds like they didn't want the public to hear the state's evidence. Yep, that's what it sounds like to me. I don't care what you do with your money. I really don't. I just like, I don't understand why not just me, I see other the YouTubers that like try so hard to give like just like facts and research and not just get on here and like talk and, you know, or like make up fake stuff and like, you know, just. Yeah, we really are. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I think it was Daisy for the 1999 super chat. I really appreciate you. Mark Klein, missed you. Honestly, he is in jail for a reason. Many have determined this already. Yeah, it just seems like people they're not like getting it. I don't know. Why did the first judge bail? Hey, I want to know. I want to know too. I really do. I mean, it was a good move. There's like people joking about it in the like Delphi dilemma. I was like dying laughing because it's like, man, he knew, like, get the hell out. But like, I would like to know some things about the way all that all went down, you know? Yeah. I mean, I can hope that too, but at the end of the day, like, did anyone hear Greeno say he was going to get arrested so that he could be in whatever jail they transfer to him to? Surely they wouldn't do that. Like, hopefully they're aware enough to like not let that happen, but that's a scary thought. Like, they need to take these kinds of threats seriously and like weigh that. Like, I think he should be moved closer. I 100% like agree with that. But I know that Greeno spent time in Cass County. I know he spent time in like every county in Indiana, like Morgan, Tippecanoe, Carroll, White, freaking, you know, Cass. Like, he's been all over. And people like him and that are like-minded like that they could think, because there's some people, they don't care if they're infamous or famous. So that, to me, for Richard Allen's safety, since he is just an alleged, like, they better not just do this because it's like, oh, well, like, it'll look better to the public. Like, they better make for damn sure that wherever they move him to, they can keep him safe. And that means, guess what that means? They're going to have him segregated. Yeah, I was looking into that the other day as far as that would, like, again, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, people want me to be like hard pro, and there are some things that are just like, this is, you know, I want answers to that question. I bet we could. Some of it we can't. Crazy. Hey, Northern Light. You too. There could be an argument made for not being able to participate in his own defense because of the barrier of his attorneys to meet with him. we saw the barrier. So yeah, I think that's a bit like, and that's the thing is like, that's on the commissioner, and they would, when they take in a pre-detainee in IDOC, like they should, like she had to order them not to like, but I think, like, man, think if they hadn't have recorded, and they better come to court with that. They better fucking come to the safekeeping hearing with that, with the recording, because they said they had them of him. And we'll get to see it. But like a lot of it is body cam and cameras around, and they said that they kept him under video, and all that surveillance. So that could really make a difference. Yeah. Yeah. They did right there at the pig, what's the pig farm called? But if you think about like I said, like this case blew up like right from the beginning. It became global. I mean, there's been how many documentaries made on it? It's pretty, and usually like those types of, they get involved when it's adjudicated because they can show the progress of the cases. Like there's not a lot of like huge documentaries that follow cases as they're unfolding. There has been here recently, but like historically most of them are like, Paul Lazan was one where it was just like, she was one that would have like unsolved case. Like I'm not saying that it's not a thing, but like the majority of them are, you're watching a case from start to finish in an hour, and well, unless you were in a homeschool group, which I know isn't very many people's experience in life, but we were in this like homeschool group, and I mean the field trips were a lot, but like we went with the homeschool group to Delphi. I can remember three like separate times throughout like my and because it's historical. It has like a historical significance as far as like the early settlers, and like a lot of like the preservation, the Delphi, like that area, all over it, like most of the properties along Deer Creek, are in the historical society. And Deer Creek itself is a major part of history, and that areas around there. You can still go out there and find arrowheads. That was what we would go, and like when we would get to like not have to hear about the history, they'd be like, banks of the Deer Creek, and if you look hard enough, you'll probably find like taking metal detectors out there. Like if you look hard enough, you'll probably find one. And like I didn't find one, but someone in our group, and then they had this like little like pan for something. I'm not even sure what that was about, but the famous poet, something Wickham Riley. I really don't see how him being in Westville helps all the people contacting the court and all that. What? I don't understand it. I don't, like, again, like, yeah, like, but think if there is just like a mass amount of people outside because they're seeking information, and, like you got a crazy like Reno coming up. But unfortunately, like I love you, and I know you love me, but our opinions are moot. On it's it's like I said earlier, it's like change the statutes, because it's clearly stated under there whether we agree or not. Like them feeling like that they could keep him safe inside and have the proper housing and the proper like medical and mental and safety, that is the reason that people can get transferred. Maybe we can do what that one dramatic one did. Remember that with the like what was it, the um I was like, I mean, I get it. It was like really passionate, but it was just like, wow, this is really over the top. Yeah. Ego. It's a big problem. It's so freaking bizarre. Like, it's so bizarre. When I was a juror, oh, cool. Missed 5 days of work. Oh my gosh, like $750 a day. That sucks. Hey, Dustin. Hey, from the 321. Has Julie Mellon's voice hit your ears in the last 24? She gave us an impromptu expose. I think you'd appreciate. I was wondering if there was any new to you in it. Email me the link to it, because I don't know if you saw my last live, but it was pretty much all about her and her friend, the long time a white supremacist, angry person. Candace girl, thank you so much. Hey, Charlotte. I know, that's what I mean. Like, I guess I should start saying like stuff like fan funded and like, it's like so crazy. All right, guys, thank you for being here, and hope this helps. Just a person in the bedroom that needs to organize her books clearly, but I can read. See y'all later. Have a good one.